Everything is made out of very, very tiny pieces of matter that like to move around and hit each other, and they come in different shapes and sizes. Many new ones are formed in the middle of stars like our sun, where it is very hot. When the heat makes the pieces of matter move really fast, they hit each other so hard that they make slightly bigger pieces. However, this has only been found to happen with the pieces of matter that aren't too big, because to make the huge pieces, you need a lot more heat. With this in mind, people who study space have been wondering for a long time about the really big pieces of matter, such as silver and gold. Where do they come from and how are they formed? As it turns out, the answer may lie not in the normal stars like our sun, but in the dead remains of some of the biggest stars ever found. When a really big star stops creating pieces of matter, it dies and blows up into a huge cloud of heat, space dust, and pretty lights. When this happens, its outer parts are pushed away into space, while the rest of the stuff in the middle is pulled in because of the star's really strong force. These pieces of matter become really close together, so the whole thing gets smaller while still remaining as heavy as before. Sometimes, this thing can form into a black hole, a thing in space that pulls stuff in with such a strong force that nothing, not even light, can leave. However, more often than not, the remains of huge stars can form a strange new kind of star that is slightly different from a black hole: a small, heavy, dead star. These small, heavy, dead stars, along with black holes, can do some rather cool stuff, like making time go slower when you get too close to them. This is because they become so heavy that they end up bending space and time, something which people who study space find interesting but don't completely understand. People who study space have already found more than 2,000 of these stars, although there are probably many, many more. Some small heavy dead stars, especially the older ones, simply sit around and quietly shoot light waves into space. However, most of them aren't this calm. Soon after death, small heavy dead stars like to spin really fast, shooting out their bars of light, kind of like a lighthouse, so that people who look at space see them flashing many times every second. A few years ago, a group of people looking at space noticed a flash of really short light waves. At first, they did not find this to be the most exciting news, as lots of things in space create light, and this sort of thing happens very often. However, another group of people looking at space found something else. Coming from the same place as the really short light waves were different waves, the kind of waves that come from the force that pulls things together. This force is especially strong near the heaviest things in space, meaning that the flashes of really short light waves from earlier must have come from something very heavy. Soon enough, the people who were studying space realized what they were looking at: two small, heavy, dead stars hitting each other, creating a bigger star or a black hole, while sending lots of light and pieces of matter shooting into space. The idea of these small, heavy, dead stars hitting each other had actually been talked about before, as the people studying space who had seen the flashes of small light waves wanted to explain where they came from. However, this was the first time that this event was actually seen, and not only did it prove their ideas right, but it answered a very important question about space. The people who were studying space realized that along with the flashes of small light waves, the small heavy dead stars also shot out pieces of matter. The heaviest pieces of matter, which cannot be made by normal stars like our sun. A lot of them are so big that they break down very quickly into smaller ones. However, some of the pieces that remain are things like gold and other kinds of metals. Anyway, this event has been very important in the study of space and in the study of matter, as it has led us to a better understanding of what stars do, as well as what everything is made of and where it comes from. People today continue to study space, and they continue to look at small, heavy, dead stars. By finding even more strange and interesting things about them, maybe they'll answer more of the questions we have about space, or maybe they'll discover something completely new. Thank you for listening.